So I thought we'd start with going through some of the stuff leading up to Biden's defeat speech. We'll get into that in a minute, don't worry. But I thought we'd start with an update from Miles the Mad Lad, the absolute nutcase who went to Kabul during the war and decided to have fun. So here's the first thing here. So the first update being from the Times. A student who took a holiday to Afghanistan has narrowly avoided death at the hands of the Taliban. When asked where he was from, Miles said that he was from Wales rather than Britain. As fighters did not know where Wales was, they let him go. The cheeky chappy. I mean, like, I'm sure there's plenty of criticisms for him, but I mean, every single time I'm just like, yeah, you know what? He comes off as such an eccentric British explorer for the 1900s.
Is he actually from Wales? I've heard a little bit about what he's been up to.
I don't know. I don't think so, which makes it even funnier, but whatever. So that's one of the updates. The update is good, though. The other one here being the next one, if we can get it up, which is him being evacuated, so he's now out. So this is Remy. I also love how Remy, I don't know if people know Remy, he's a YouTuber who makes a lot of good gaming content, and now is doing, this, which a hell of a crossover. Anyway, but he did the update here. Miles has been evacuated. Whether that means from Afghanistan or his current safe house was unclear at the time of this post. He says, I got evacuated at 4-ish with 100 or so other civilians. Couldn't message as there were cars emitting signals that would set off bombs. It blocked my AirPods from connecting, so I think it blocked all Wi-Fi and data. The Taliban let us go through to the airport, and we met many of them. Very long transition period, but everyone was smiling and waving at one another. Some even took selfies with them. With the Taliban.
What, so the people we were evacuating were taking selfies with the Taliban?
Yeah.
That's reassuring.
The Taliban, he also mentions in an article that's now deleted because of a cock-up, is that he was also being escorted by the Taliban. Like, their group of Westerners were escorted by the Taliban to the airfield.
So, like,
is amazing.
So we're evacuating you from the Taliban with a Taliban escort.
Yes.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, he says, I slept on a dirt road and woke up as cars went by. We're in a new safe house. We're all hydrated, happy to get a few hours of sleep. And if we go to his Facebook page, he's posted on here. There are a couple of links. Oh, God, there's a new one as well. So if we scroll down a bit, there's a post in which he says, on the flight out, we weren't allowed any liquids, no razors, only one bag up to 10 kilograms, so everyone is tossing their belongings into a pile. People are donating each other their items because they can't carry them. Some lads stuffed my body armor with bags full of protein bars. Over 20 of them. Very happy right now. Thank you, lads. Again, I mean, the way he posts is just so charming. I can't be mad. He also says here that he found a bottle of Canadian syrup in disposal and downed a third of it before being searched. Happy days.
Wait, what? Well, like maple syrup, just drinking it before getting on the plane.
And then here's him uploading some of the footage, which is new. We're only just seeing this, of him uploading the footage of him on the plane, getting out, landed in Dubai, he says. So, with the British Army. So, Miles is safe. Miles is out of Afghanistan. So, the Mad Lad has made it home. Good God, that's one hell of a story to tell your kids, isn't it? Anyway, let's get into Biden's defeat speech, the main subject. So, Biden gave a speech yesterday, even though he said he wouldn't give one for a while. He said in the next few days I'll give one, and then gave one yesterday. Presumably because everyone was noticing, buddy, you're the president. Maybe you should say something. And there have been mixed responses to this speech that I've seen. And my gut feeling is I'm not terribly impressed. And also, it was never going to be that good anyway because you have to give a speech about the fact that you lost. I mean, that was never going to be well, was it? So go and watch the full thing in your full time if you want to, but we're going to cut it down for the sake of time as well. So I've seen this being shared a lot for the preamble of this, so we go to the next one, his tweet. So him saying in here that he takes full responsibility, unlike other presidents. I won't blame others. Yeah, that's going to be the theme of this. Also, we had some news beforehand that he was going to take pre-approved questions from the press. So we go to the next one. We can see a White House correspondent for the Daily Caller. He'll be taking questions only from pre-approved media.
That's not really media then, is it? If it's pre-approved, you're not really holding the president accountable. You're just being his lapdog.
Yeah. So let's get to the first clip in which he spent the first section of his speech blaming Trump for this.
When I came into office, I inherited a deal that President Trump negotiated with the Taliban. Under his agreement, U.S. forces would be out of Afghanistan by May 1, 2021, just a little over 3 months after I took office. U.S. forces had already drawn down during the Trump administration from roughly 15,500 American forces to 2,500 troops in country. And the Taliban was at its strongest militarily since 2001. The choice I had to make as your president was either to follow through on that agreement or be prepared to go back to fighting the Taliban in the middle of the spring fighting season. There would have been no ceasefire after May 1. There was no agreement protecting our forces after May 1. There was no status quo of stability without American casualties after May 1. There was only the cold reality of either following through on the agreement to withdraw our forces or escalating the conflict and sending thousands more American troops back into combat in Afghanistan.
So why did you stay? I mean, this is the bit I don't get. Like, he's laying this out as if it's a dunk on Trump, and I'm like, no, that proves his point.
Didn't he extend it to September 11th, right?
Yeah, so Trump's plan was to get out on May 1, as he says, because he wanted to avoid the situation falling into an S show. Like, doesn't want to be there for if it's going to collapse. Therefore, get all the Westerners out, and therefore, if it does start to collapse months after, as it has, then you could say, well, okay, then we have time to evacuate people properly, and it's not going to be a cluster F as it was. So that was the plan from Trump, and he has essentially told us that's true. Like, no, I'm going to stay longer. Why? Well, he didn't have a reason for it at all. Anyway, so Biden moved the date, as you mentioned. He moved it to September 11th for the evacuation for seemingly no reason. Like, I've not seen
certainly
him
a
give one.
Symbolic reason, right? It's a symbolic date, 20 years, September 11th, right?
The only thing I can see is the optics and be like, yeah, I got us out on September 11, which, as a foreigner, that looks really weird anyway, to have as a celebratory date, but good God, whatever. So if we go to the next link here, you can see, the Red State article, you can see we have, in March, he blamed Trump for negotiating the deal badly, as in, we had to get out by May, that was the deal, and for some reason he wasn't happy with that. He doesn't explain in here why he's not happy with that. And then if we go to the next link, you see The Guardian, just to prove my claims here, he was the one who moved it to September 11. He did this. That's his fault. So him trying to make up this narrative of Trump wanted us out, therefore the botched execution is Trump's fault, doesn't make any sense. Everyone wanted us out, but the botched operation comes to your decision to stay longer than was needed. That's Trump's criticism of his situation, and that's true. That's just demonstrably true by the looks of it to me.
Well, it seems like the rushing, they left lots of stuff behind, because you've seen the images of all of the stuff, the American equipment that the Taliban have, likely through stuff that's left behind, but as well as the Afghan military. They are obviously given equipment as well. They wouldn't have all that stuff, or at least less of it, had they withdrawn sooner, and that's a good argument.
Also, you wouldn't have the situation of desperately trying to get thousands and thousands.
Well, yeah,
of people
you wouldn't have people.
Already have measured it.
Yeah, you wouldn't have people jumping onto American airplanes that are flying away and clinging on until they fall off.
Yeah, because everyone had already left. There is the argument that the things might have collapsed sooner, sure, but if you're already out by May, it doesn't really matter if it's a month sooner than it turned out to be in our situation. So we go to the next clip in which he blames the Afghan army for being crap.
I always promised the American people that I would be straight with you. The truth is, this did unfold more quickly than we had anticipated. So what's happened? Afghanistan political leaders gave up and fled the country. The Afghan military collapsed, sometime without trying to fight. We spent over $1 trillion. We trained and equipped an Afghan military force with some 300,000 strong. Incredibly well equipped. A force larger in size than the militaries of many of our NATO allies. We gave them every tool they could need. We paid their salaries, provided for the maintenance of their Air Force, something the Taliban doesn't have. Taliban does not have an Air Force. We provided close air support. We gave them every chance to determine their own future. We could not provide them was the will to fight for that future. There's some very brave and capable Afghan special forces units and soldiers. But if Afghanistan is unable to mount any real resistance to the Taliban now, there is no chance that 1 year, 1 more year, 5 more years, or 20 more years of U.S. military boots on the ground would have made any difference.
I know that was a bit long, but I mean, who can argue with that?
No, I very much agree. I mean, it was only not too long ago that I was predicting, there's no way this prediction really didn't go well, did it? Because I was just like, well, look at the numbers, look at the equipment. there's no way that they could be beaten. And then literally a week later, there they are with their tails between their legs. So yeah, turns out don't listen to me when it comes to conflicts about in the Middle East. Apparently I don't know anything.
I'm feeling smug because I was right. But to get back to his speech, because he argues that they're crap, they had every advantage, they did. But what they did not have was the will to fight, and the Americans and the West can't provide that. That is up to them, and they did not.
It is amazing how incompetent the Afghan army are, though.
Unbelievably.
I saw a video of them doing jumping jacks. I think it's been going around for years, but they can't even do that. They can't even,
Look, when you're high on heroin, I'm sure it's very hard. So that's the thing. But you see that he's trying to steer the conversation, and this was a theme throughout the entire episode, in which he steered the conversation to being that, well, we have to leave Afghanistan, therefore I've done the right thing. Like, that's not the criticism. That might be the criticism from, like, neocons and neolibs who, for some reason, want to go back in for another 50 years to forever. But everyone else is saying, no, everyone agrees you were going to leave, everyone's agreed to this. What's wrong is the fact that you reset the date, and now you won't own it. Anyway, so let's go to the next clip in which he tries to make this point even more stark.
So I'm left again to ask of those who argue that we should stay. How many more generations of America's daughters and sons would you have me send to fight Afghanistan's civil war when Afghan troops will not?
Good point. But also, who's making that argument? Who is seriously making the argument that we should go back in for another 10 years?
I certainly have seen people, obviously not for 10 years specifically, but say we never should have left in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I have seen some Conservative MPs on occasion, or I think it's Dan Crenshaw is very mad about all this. And understandable, I mean, with the background of being in the military. But they're just wrong. Everyone can see that it's wrong. We are to leave. No one is making the argument seriously that we should stay for another 10 years in mass. The argument is you cocked this up. Your evacuation was your fault because you changed the date, ended up causing a bottleneck there. So he just takes no responsibility for it. If we go to the next one as well, remember the pre-approved questions? Yeah, nah.
And all brave Americans serving in harm's way.
He just walked off. Doesn't even answer any questions.
Mr. President, what do you make of the Afghans clinging to the aircraft?
No questions. Not even the pre-approved questions. Just leaves. Just like, nah, see ya. I'm not doing it.
Just forget?
He just left, and the thing is, he's a very busy man. I mean, he's president of the United States. I mean, he's got stuff to do, like go back on holiday. I mean, this is Jack Posobiec posting here his schedule that's public, and as you can see, delivers remarks on Afghanistan, and then had more time he could have spared, but was just left back to go to Camp David. Just can't be bothered leaving. I mean, it is embarrassing.
So is that just where they go for their time off? I don't really know too much about it.
Apparently, yeah. But the thing there, I mean, like, good him saying that we had to leave, but who seriously is opposing that statement? The rest of it...
A small minority, yeah.
And refusing to take responsibility, refusing to address the criticism, and also refusing to take any questions because, he could just go back on holiday, can't he? I mean, just an utter embarrassment of a man. Anyway, so there's also some statements Jack Posobiec's been posting from some guys who apparently work in Intel who are saying that he's talking BS. Because the other part here is that he's claiming, well, it collapsed faster than we could have predicted. And publicly, we've seen a bunch of intelligence agencies say, it would have been 90 days until it collapsed. Apparently, they've been getting reports endlessly, day after day, about the situation on the ground. And the people involved are like, no. So he says in here, for months leading up to the Afghan National Army surrendering, they were surrendering in literally hundreds, sometimes thousands at a time to the Taliban all over the country. So the president would have been getting those reports as well. And yet, changed nothing. Just ignored them, which... Great. So you compare this to Trump. Remember Trump? His response to a situation like this? I love this comparison here by this lady. When Qasem Soleimani effed with our embassy and our people, Trump had him turned into salsa and sent back to Tehran in a box flying economy. Then he threw up an American flag on Twitter. I mean, this really is the version of F around and find out that Trump's foreign policy was. And to be honest, yeah, that was way better than just being like, nah, I'm not taking responsibility. See ya.
I mean, even the Iranians and the North Koreans and people like that acknowledge that Trump's style of negotiation and his foreign policy seemed to be effective, right?
Yeah, got stuff done.
Exactly, yeah.
So there's also Trump's response to that speech, in which he says in a statement, which we can get up, it's not that we left Afghanistan, it's the grossly incompetent way that we left. Completely correct. This is his criticism consistently. Biden has not addressed this criticism at all. Anyway, so that's Biden's defeat speech, which, didn't go well. But let's go to Afghanistan itself. So what's been going on since we all were looking at Biden? Not great. So we have some pictures here of the airplanes still evacuating hundreds and hundreds of civilians. Awful lot of men, I must say. Many of them probably Afghan National Army. I mean, I don't know how we're identifying any of these people. I don't know where they're going either.
These asylum claimants then, because
Presumably
if they were, interpreters or contractors or something like that, it would make sense that they're all men because they're working with the military, right?
Yeah, but there doesn't seem to be any way to verify any of these people. Apparently, this is the largest amount of people they've ever had on this plane either. So
yeah, that doesn't look particularly safe, does it?
No, I think this might have been the one that had people falling off as well. But let's go to CNN and check what they've been up to, because they stayed in Kabul to hang out with the Taliban. Look at this. Yesterday versus today.
Oh, dear.
Just feminism. Gone. Overnight. Just, yeah. I love how she went with the full covering as well. Like, no strand of hair is visible. If we go to the next one, we can see the British version of this. But at least she kept her hair out, I guess. Resistance. Not completely compliant.
Yeah, that one just seems a bit, they're not dedicated to the full veil, right? It's just kind of draped over the head. If you're going to do it right. Yeah.
At least take the CNN route and become full Islamic. But the absolute collapse of culture there, everything is being Talibanized, as we say. So if we go to the next one, we can see the mostly peaceful death chants as well, which CNN reported on. So let's play this clip, because this is gold.
They're just chanting death to America, but they seem friendly at the same time. It's utterly bizarre.
That's because of you.
They've just told me to stand to the side because I'm a woman.
They seem friendly.
Very friendly. Oh, boy. But mostly peaceful chants of death to America alongside, get out of here, woman.
To be fair,
God.
you've got to respect her to be out there in amongst the Taliban, an American, when they've taken over,
Well,
reporting on the ground.
The CNN have done multiple interviews with the Taliban over the years. So, I mean, they're best friends. So don't worry about it.
Ideological bedfellows.
Yeah. But I must admit, there is some like big PP energy to the Taliban. Where they're just like, woman, go. There's just something about it. Where
Not good.
There's no, it's not good, obviously, but it is interesting how much conviction they have in themselves. Like, they honestly believe in themselves in a way that is just vanquished in the West about anything we believe. Like, you never see strong liberalism here, for example. People aren't that straight about liberalism in the same way they are about Islamic.
So you're admiring them for their conviction to Islam now?
The level of conviction which we don't have to liberalism, which we should. So
we should go on some kind of liberal
crusade. What's wrong with that? Anyway, so the Taliban have also been taking weapons from the civilians of Afghanistan, because that's what every government does before they decide to just mess with the population. Remember, Americans, when they come for your guns, there's another example of them doing it. So we also have the Taliban, who are really enjoying their time on social media. Their favorite platform, twitter.com, in which they're posting updates here. I love Michael Tracy here being like, good to know, I'll receive regular updates from the new Taliban government on Twitter. But where to get updates of Donald Trump, you'll have to go elsewhere, because you can't. I love how they post in here as well. The Taliban said, the general public is happy with the arrival of the Mujahideen and satisfied with the security. Something about that.
Do they hear that many criticisms?
They interviewed some people, I'm pretty sure, that at gunpoint, if not Taliban supporters anyway, so there's that. But Silicon Valley is striking back. They are keeping a standard. Facebook is, anyway. We'll go to the next one. Facebook bans the Taliban.
Oh, wow. Stunning and brave.
I also have to wonder, why did
it take that long?
Why did it take to today? Like, you had the Taliban on your platform while they were fighting the Americans for 20 years, apparently. And then today, you're like, well, now they're in government. Now they've got to go. Oh, God. So, yeah, Taliban not fans of Facebook, but still fans of Twitter. So, the Islamic scholar Jack Dorsey will, I'm sure, be in contact.
He's starting to look that way a little bit, isn't he?
Yeah, with the beard. But also, don't worry, they don't really bother. They've got their own Sky News now. So, we get the next one. Just look at this. Look at this image. There's just something amazing about it. It's so for people listening, it's an image of a guy in like a very modern TV set that looks like something out of Sky News or Good Morning Britain, with a Taliban flag as the logo behind him on the screen, and then a Taliban flag next to him, just presenting the news. Just something about it is just so absurd. I don't know what to say. Oh boy.
It looks like something from a set on Star Wars, and then there they are.
We can also see the presenters of the Good Morning Caliphate show. So there we are. It's just I can't get over how modern it looks. It's just these guys in mountain dress and huge beards who are the Taliban, for Christ's sake. Oh boy,
They're
it's
bringing back
something
the
about it.
waistcoat as well.
I mean, these are the guys who beat the West. I mean, fundamentally, these are the guys who did it. Which
You need F-15s and nukes to do it, don't you?
no, you need bumper cars.
Wait, what?
Let's go to the next one. So you just see they took over a theme park, and they just decided like, well, I'm bored of fighting. Let's go in the bumper cars and have some fun. There's just something about it, like childlike with these people. Let's go to the next one as well, when you can see them on these little like merry-go-round with little ponies, and like these grown men are riding the merry-go-round after their victory. I mean, this is their treat. You fought very hard, boy. Papa Taliban's going to take you out for a ride on the merry-go-round. Oh, God. It's just some absurd scenes seeing there. So they've also seen the government declare amnesty for government officials, if we can go to this story. So they're declaring amnesty for all Afghan government officials. They're not going to kill them, they swear. Who believes that? Although there was a weird statement in here. Women would also be allowed to have a role in government, provided that it corresponds with Sharia, said the Taliban.
So what exactly would that mean then?
Presumably not a role in government that isn't like the tea lady.
Cleaner.
Like the parliamentary kitchen, perhaps. I don't know what else they're thinking adheres to Sharia, but okay. This is what the Taliban said when they meant we respect human rights.
I'm also confused why they'd feel the need to kind of say that. Like, yeah, we're a new and progressive Taliban. We want to include women in our government.
Don't worry, we're progressives. Allahu Akbar. She's in the kitchen, not in the ground. Jesus Christ. I mean, these people really are barbarians, so I'm not surprised. But let's go to the next link here so you can see. This is one of the stories that's caught my eye here. Transgender United States Air Force veteran is trapped in Kabul over all of this. She was a contractor, apparently, and is now just kind of stuck there. I don't know how they're getting her out. I don't know if the Taliban are going to give her an escort. I imagine it's going to be a hell of a conversation. Yeah. So that's the end of the stuff on what's happening in Taliban. If we go back to the West for a moment to see what's going on with our politicians. So we have Tobias Elwood, who yesterday said that it was wrong for us to abandon Afghanistan, as if we stayed there 10 more years, things would be fixed. And today had something even more weird to say. He says here, I cannot believe that this is now the sum of our new foreign policy to hold the Taliban to account, applying sanctions and holding back ODA. This will not prevent a civil war, nor deter the Taliban from imposing a ruthless interpretation of Sharia. I don't know why people keep saying Sharia law.
Yeah, ruthless interpretation of Sharia law as well.
I know. It's just like, what do you mean? It's just Islamic
As opposed to, you know, the nice diplomatic and peaceful Sharia law.
The one we're enacting in Luton, perhaps. Anyway, but the again, this will not prevent a civil war doing sanctions, nor deter the Taliban. But what do you want to do? Invade? And then wage war on them for 20 years? You think that'll do it? Like,
Well,
we've done this. It's not worked. We're out. It's done.
There's got to be some kind of infrastructure there to support the country when we leave, like there was in Iraq. And at least, you know, the Iraqis didn't just give up immediately. Don't look at me like that.
What happened in
It's only a matter of time.
Anyway, so Boris Johnson is also urging Western nations not to prematurely recognise the Taliban. I did see a good meme in response to this. Let's go to the next one. Steiner's attack, everything will be fine. It's done. They're the ones in charge of Afghanistan now. So if we get the next one up, this is the bad news that has really peed me off. So you remember this? This was the story. The UK will waive border rules to allow Afghan asylum seekers to flee the Taliban to Britain without a passport. The context for this, when it was initially issued, was meant to be those who are interpreters. People who had given their service, therefore guaranteed citizenship, as you would say, and we're going to have a duty to take them out because they're going to be killed, and also they did a good job for us. No, turns out it's not just for them. We're now going to take tens of thousands of Afghan refugees, many of them nothing to do with the service, because just the West, isn't it? So if we go to the next one, because there are only 20,000 translators in the whole country that worked with us. This is Britain to accept tens of thousands of Afghan refugees. That's just Britain. Cuckland, we've got a Caucadia over here. Caucadia is also to accept 20,000 refugees. We can get the next one up, John. There you go. 20,000, even though we're taking tens of thousands. And then the Americans are going to take tens of thousands as well.
Is there anyone going to be left in Afghanistan? Is that just their solution? They're going to just take all the people out of Afghanistan?
There are only 20,000 interpreters. Numbers don't add up. We're just going to start taking people because, wow, I swear I worked with you. And there's going to be no checks. Fantastic. This land in which we have demonstrated previously that the Taliban side of this argument are a bunch of pedo-barbarians, and the police who were in charge of the south there that we saw were also pedo-barbarians. Fantastic. I'm sure this is going to go swimmingly. Although there is one man standing up to all of this. Macron. Good God. kind of have to simp for France. Macron said, we must anticipate and protect ourselves against significant irregular migratory flows in response to the news of you must take migrants. He was like, no.
You put that very euphemistically.
Yeah. It's essentially the fancy French version of F off, we're full, which I love. So Islamo Labour have responded to this and being very upset. So you can see Zara Sultana here. This isn't leadership, it's inhumanity. It's inhumanity, is it? Right. So we're going to look forward to tens of thousands of people who did not serve us in any capacity. People who are not the interpreters. They're just going to be like, well, women's rights or something like that, and therefore be able to come over here. I mean, you saw in the cargo planes as well. They didn't serve their country either by standing to fight. The Afghan army collapsed, and they didn't serve ours, and therefore they want access to ours. I can't think of a worse policy. I mean, these people have the most Islamic views on blasphemy, women, gays, and most importantly, age of consent, shall we say. I mean, we've seen it with the migrants we have taken from the stupid idiots who go down there with refugees welcome signs at Dover. And then we get them over, and a lot of them turn out to be the kind of person you really do not want anywhere near your children.
If you enjoyed this segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can watch the full broadcast live every weekday at 1 PM UK time on lotuseaters.com.